Hello everyone, this is Carrie from Your Level Best, and today we're going to do a Mexican style recipe called chicken in peanut sauce. Now, I'm not going to attempt to actually give the Mexican name to this just because I'm not going to be able to pronounce it very well, so, we'll keep it at that. So anyway, this is a Mexican style dish. This is closer to authentic Mexican than Tex-Mex. For those of you who are not familiar, Mexican is definitely different than Tex-Mex. They're both really good cuisines, and one of the reasons why there's a difference is Mexican, of course, comes from Mexico. It's a very different style than Tex-Mex, which is an Americanized version of Mexican food. They're both good, and sometimes I do make Tex-Mex, but today I'm actually going towards the Mexican side. So I love making Mexican food. It's awesome, it's a great cuisine, and a lot of things are gluten-free, so that's one of the reasons why I like making Mexican food. So let me go over the ingredients I have in front of me and we'll get started. So I have some pumpkin, of course, great vitamin A, and a substitute for tomato sauce. I have some dried lentils. Now this is actually to help bulk out the protein and the servings, because sometimes, depending on the particular dish, if I'm using chicken thighs, which I have in front of me right now, they're a little fattier piece of meat. So I need something so that when I bring down the calorie level for the meat, that can actually bulk up the protein a little bit and actually increase the serving size, because it really sucks when you get these little teeny tiny servings and you didn't intend to. I also have some peanuts, of course, this is a peanut sauce. I have some green and red bell pepper. I actually didn't use all red pepper this time around just because I had a bunch of green bell peppers sitting in my fridge and I wanted to use them up. I also have some garlic, some cinnamon, salt, and pepper. And then I have here in front of me a rehydrated dried ancho chili. Depending on where you live, there are different varieties of chili. Ancho chili is actually a more common dried chili. We actually seem to be able to have the anchos. We also have the guajillo, and we also have the New Mexico, which are quite frequently dried, but check to see what you have. If you can't find a dried ancho chili, you can use a guajillo or another dried mild chili. So what I did is I actually soaked this, rehydrated it in some water for 15 minutes or so, just to get it plumped up and nice and soft. I also have some chicken stock, I have some onions, and I have a little cilantro for garnish. So let's go over cooking this recipe. So right here next to me, I actually do have some oil heating up in my pan, and whoo, let me turn this down a little bit because we don't want to smoke up the house. I've got my oil, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to brown my chicken thighs. So I'm going to go ahead and place each of these into my pot here, and I'm going to brown them. And I will clean that up. So I'm going to put a few in here to brown, and I'm going to cover this just so that we don't get oil everywhere. And I'll show you what it looks like when everything is all browned. Okay, now that I have my chicken thighs completely brown, now these are not cooked, they're actually going to cook in the sauce we're going to make in a little bit. So these are not cooked through, but they've been browned. And I've got the oil still hot in the pan. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the lid off, and I'm going to throw in my peppers. And I'm going to take a few minutes and cook those down. Again, they don't need to be cooked completely, but I'm actually going to cook these down a little bit until they are nice and soft. So that's actually going to take me a couple of minutes. So I'll show you what that looks like when it's done, and I'll show you the next step. Okay, we've sauteed our green and red bell peppers, so now we're going to do the final step of sauteing before we make the sauce. So I'm going to take my onions, and my chilies. So a lot of times with chilies, you toast them ahead of time, but in this case, we're actually toasting them in the pan. So what I'm doing right now is I'm softening the onions and toasting the garlic a little bit, and also toasting the chilies. So this will take another couple of minutes, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. Okay, now that we have the onions and the chilies and the garlic all taken care of, they're all soft, now I'm going to actually start building the sauce. So now that I have everything cooked, pretty much, I think the peanuts are the only things that aren't cooked, I'm going to start putting everything into my blender. So go ahead and scoop this in. So the chilies and the onions are going to go into the blender. So what this is going to do is essentially make a chili peanut sauce. A lot of times in Mexican cooking, this is how the sauces come together. Sometimes they've got tomatoes, sometimes they've got chili, sometimes they've got both. You know, there's all kinds of different things. So I'm also going to put in my peanuts, my pumpkin, the cinnamon, and I'm also going to put in part of my green peppers. The reason being, I've got a whole heck of a lot of peppers here, and I don't want to fill this up too much, but I'm going to put in some of my peppers just so that I can grind them up. They're a little bit easier to deal with, and they'll all fit in my small pot here. And then I'm going to add my liquid. So one of the things you want to keep in mind is when you grind this up, you're going to want to hold on tight to the lid because it's going to come up a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and puree this, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. Okay, everybody, welcome back. I have my sauce here that I'm going to add to the pan along with all of the other great stuff. So whew, that's going a little bit crazy right now. I'm going to add in the rest of these, and you can see it is getting everywhere. Oh, and I'm going to put in my thighs just like that. So you know what? I'm actually going to be right back because this particular pot's not going to be big enough to do this, so stay tuned. Okay, everyone, now that I got a bigger pot, sometimes I do a really good job of judging how big of a pot I need, and sometimes I do a terrible job, and today I did a terrible job, but that's okay. So what I have now, I have the peanut sauce and the chicken thighs and the rest of the peppers in there, and then I'm going to add in my lentils. So I'm going to stir these in so that they're all coated with the sauce and that they'll get nice and soft. So got everything nice and stirred up. I'm going to bring this to a boil and turn it down, and then I'm going to simmer this for 30 minutes until everything is soft, the lentils are cooked, and the chicken is tender. I'm going to shred it up and show you what it looks like when it's done. Hello everyone, and welcome back. It's been 30 minutes. The lentils are cooked, the chicken is cooked and shredded, and I will tell you this was a very messy dish to cook. It made a huge mess, and you don't necessarily see that here, but sometimes the messy dishes are worth it. If you've ever made a great tomato sauce for spaghetti, it's messy, but it's worth it. So let me show you what it looks like when it's done with a little bit of cilantro. I'm gonna give this some cilantro on top here. And now I'm going to put some over rice. So I'm going to take, and this is about 4/10 of a cup of rice, just shy of a half cup. So I'm going to go ahead and take a nice big scoop, place it over, and wow, this looks absolutely amazing. This has chicken, it has, you can smell the cilantro that I have in there, and I'll put a little bit more on top here. But oh my goodness, it smells very savory, and that you can smell the chicken and over the rice, and you can see the peppers. Oh, very thick, very beautiful dish, and I hope you give this a try. Go to yourlevelbest.net. Check out the recipe, check out the changes I made, see if they fit your macros, and I'll see you next time.